All right, everybody. So I wanted to come and get ready with y'all uh, and try to do my best to address what I think is a larger issue that nobody's really talking about as it pertains to. There's a delay. Sorry, y'all. But anyway, I wanted to come and have a conversation about what I think is a little bit more of an issue that nobody is talking about around this Cheyenne Bryant situation, which is her lack of accountability to what she was really trying to do. And I think that there's a larger discourse that's been opened up here that nobody's really addressing, which is the fact that in the midst of Cheyenne Bryant trying to backpedal her way out of all the things that she's caused upon herself, she is now showing us exactly who she is, which is, the light skinned hood rat with a nice body who is used to men sort of acquiescing to her presence simply because of those things, and also being able to garner some sort of clout, respect, or sycophantic audience because of it. And so, what I wanted to be able to come and point out and have a discussion about or around is the fact that when we're talking through this entire situation with Cheyenne Bryant, it does not just stem from a large part of what we're seeing that's actually happening out in the open and in the media. A large part of what we are seeing and a large part of what is happening and a large part of the conversation that people don't want to have is around and specifically regarding the colorism antics that happen when you have different types of women that show up in the diaspora, right? Of, the way that we make money, the way that we're received, the way that we're respected, the way that we, get or garner opportunities or attention. And I think that so many folks are running away from trying to say that a large part of the reason that we're even in this predicament to begin with is because niggas was out here giving any light-skinned woman who said that she was a doctor credit without actually going back and validating those credits. Like, so many people, i.e., a lot of you men, were thinking with your penises. A lot of you people who like women were thinking with your organs, and y'all were not thinking as it pertained to whether or not this woman was actually able to validate credentials, whether or not this woman was actually saying things that were based on facts that were validated by academic journals. None of these things felt like they were peer reviewed. She doesn't really even have the license to be able to talk about most of the things that she's talking about. And because a lot of y'all who had her on these podcasts thought that she was fine, and you also thought that she might have been easy, a lot of y'all spent most of your time putting her on platform because you wanted to be able to see her in person rather than putting her on platform because you knew that she was going to actually be able to bring the audience that you were trying to target home. And there's no way around this. And I think that if we had had this conversation earlier in the game, instead of all of us being enthralled with the fact that she was cute and she knew a couple of buzzwords, I don't think that any of us would be here. Because to be clear, I'm not blaming this on men solely, because all of us women, at least the women in my circle that love women empowerment and that love, a woman who is speaking truth to power and saying all of the things, we were also a part of this, ladies. So I don't want us to be out here looking at these men talking about, it was just y'all, because a lot of us saw the clips too. A lot of us saw the viral moments as well. And we were out here clapping and making her feel like she was just that girl. We were out here saying all of the things just like these men were. And a lot of us were not doing our research until she pissed us off, because that is typically how a lot of us work. We're okay with the person so long as that person is doing what we believe that they should be doing. The second that they deviate from that plan, however, they become public enemy number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I think that in this particular instance, what I want to hold us as women accountable for doing is giving this woman a pass until she pissed us off. Everybody gave Cheyenne Bryant a pass until she pissed them off. Everybody and their mama was allowing Cheyenne Bryant to be out here spewing all of these things until she pissed us off. And to be very clear, none of this stuff was brand spanking new. She had been out here being divisive. She had been out here saying problematic things. She had been out here dog whistling to homophobes and the anti-pick me crew. She had been out here doing all of these things. And because we allowed this lady to sit around and smile at us with that, with that paid for a smile, we allowed this lady to sit around and blink her beautiful little hazel eyes at us and get out of trouble every single time, because we were so enthralled with the idea of this Black woman who was a boss, who was a doctor, who was all of these different things, being able to get on and get up and get herself something, that all of us forgot to do our background checks, including some of the people who I know and love are all about making sure that if we're going to be out here educating Black people, that we're doing so in a way that's going to actually benefit Black people. And for whatever reason, y'all, we all dropped the ball on this one. But I have to say this first and foremost. What I don't like is how a lot of people are turning around and trying to make this argument regarding Cheyenne about the hatred or the disdain for Black women that people have. I don't think that this has anything to do with the hatred or disdain for Black women in this particular instance. Do I think that in some people's minds, it makes it a lot easier to target her? Absolutely. Do I think that in some people's minds, this makes it a lot more acceptable to target her and say things that they probably would not say if this were not a Black woman? Absolutely. But I don't think that the initial backlash is coming from the fact that she is simply a Black woman existing in this space. If we all want to really take, some time and really pay attention to where this all started from, Dr. Raquel, right, who I absolutely love, was just kind of calling these things out and saying like, hey, when you are not licensed, a lot of the things that you are spewing can be and likely will be something that'll be detrimental to the community of people that you are trying to serve. Because when you are out of practice, out of licensure, and you have not taken your test and all of these different things, there's a multitude of things that could happen. There's a multitude of things that could go wrong. And I believe that we should be mindful about understanding people who have really great talking points versus those who are licensed. And I don't think that there was anything wrong with that. And I think that if it were another light-skinned Black woman who served up looks and was doing all the same things that Cheyenne was doing, I promise you, I don't believe that anybody would have batted an eyelash about the whole Dr. Raquel thing and her speaking her piece and saying what she had to say. I am almost certain that a large part of why we're even having this conversation and a large part of the reason why everybody is upset and has their panties in a bunch is because not only is Dr. Raquel a darker skinned Black woman, and yes, I'm going to go there because y'all don't want to go there. Y'all love to say that darker skinned Black women always like to make this thing about that, but it's always about that. And I'm not going to stop making it about that until y'all start realizing, recognizing, and owning the fact that colorism is a part of the reason that we end up in a lot of the situations that we're in, because y'all look at the color of people's skin rather than the content of their character and or the content of their degrees and or the content of their credentials. And so we end up in these situations where we have these bad bitches that pop up and pop out and embarrass us every single fucking time because y'all be out here wanting to discredit the dark-skinned Black woman because y'all love to just turn around and say, well, you're not a baddie and Dr. Cheyenne's a baddie, and so you're a jealous bitch because she's a baddie with a degree. But then we go looking for the degree, and now this bad bitch ain't really a bad bitch. This bad bitch is just a baddie who is out here pretending like she's a bad bitch with a degree. And I think that a large majority of us could stand to benefit from interrogating why. Why do we have such an issue when darker skinned Black women are also qualified? Why do we have such an issue when darker skinned Black women speak up and talk about injustices of anything? How come when a light skinned Black woman says that she's been offended or afflicted or whatever in any type of way, all of us, including darker skinned Black women, will give this woman the benefit of the doubt. We go out of our way to make sure and show and prove and show up for her. But the second that a darker skinned Black woman complains about anything, mentions an area of opportunity about anything, wants to raise a concern about anything, she got to be jealous. She's got to be a bitch. She's got to be a hater because X, Y, and Z. And usually all of these things always harken back to the fact that she is jealous because she is dark skinned and this other person is light skinned. And even if that is not the crux of the argument all the time, that always comes up in conversation. And what I can tell you is that even in this particular conversation, it did come up and it was not excused. It was not dismissed. It was not something that just went away. And so that tells us that on the back end and subconsciously and unbiased the unconscious bias of this situation is that y'all know exactly what the fuck y'all be be doing. We know exactly what the fuck we be doing. And then we don't like to name it because it makes us feel bad, because we understand exactly how we treat darker skinned Black women. We understand exactly how we treat women that don't fall into the baddie aesthetic. And as a woman who ascribe to baddie aesthetic sometimes, I understand and I know myself to be guilty of this. But what I also know, as a woman who is also enthralled with academia and who has been a part of academia for years, I also know and understand that it's important to navigate spaces where your looks, your aesthetic, your beauty, whatever version of a woman or man that you show up as, is not as important as the information that you're going to be disseminating. And so sometimes the baddest bitch in the room is not going to be the best bitch to disseminate the information. And I think that we all lose it and we miss the plot when we invite these sexy ass therapists, and when we invite these sexy ass pastors, and when we invite these sexy ass mental health therapists to come in and talk to us about mental health, when those people are literally cloaking themselves in a whole different identity in order to be able to sell this version of themselves to us for profit. And a lot of us have become and befallen this whole Cheyenne Bryant situation because we don't like to take accountability for the fact that we all love something to aspire to rather than something or someone to learn from. A lot of us have fallen into this trap with Cheyenne Bryant, not because she brainwashed us and because she was so, smart and intelligent and she had this master plan. We fell into it because that bitch posted a thirst trap, and we realized that not all doctors are going to be rolled up in scrubs looking crazy, right? And so the second that people realized or remembered or were reminded of that, then a lot of us started to change our tune about how we were going to navigate this woman. And how we navigated her was unprofessional. It was out of lust. It was out of a completely different frame of mind than seeing her as a mental health professional who was supposed to be coming here to make sure that all of us understood the ways in which we could benefit from understanding our mental health circumstances. Instead, we got this raging homophobic bitch who tries to hide that homophobia with other words and rhetoric because she's picked up a couple of books from, the random basketball wives that she's friends with, and has decided that that's going to be the way that she's going to navigate her practice. Cheyenne Bryant is not a doctor. Cheyenne Bryant does not have transcripts that says that she's even tried to attain the rights to be calling herself a doctor. Cheyenne Bryant is a beautiful woman, but she's not a very bright woman, because at some point you had to understand, you had to know that people were going to find out. And rather than, after gaining all of this fame and fortune, deciding to go back to school and be at least on your way to becoming a doctor, no, you said, let me go ahead and buy this ice-style chain and this bezel watch so I can shit on these hoes while pretending to be a doctor, as actual doctors look in despair on the sidelines. And did you really think that none of the doctors are going to have enough integrity to say anything at any point? You've got to be fucking kidding me, Cheyenne. And the reason why I'm not going to respect you as a doctor, at least, I'm going to respect you as a woman. I'm going to respect you as an intellectual of some degree and to some sort, because I've listened to some of the things that you said and have really found a lot of beautiful experiences for myself out of some of those practices. And also, I have to acknowledge that those practices came from basically somebody who was a parasocial relationship giving me advice about how to navigate this whole thing, and not an actual doctor with professional advice, which is how I think a lot of people were listening to the advice in the first place. And that is that's a misrepresentation. It's a gross misrepresentation of your lack of degree. Now, let me say this, because as a Black trans woman, I already know that somebody's going to get on this internet, and somebody who does not like me from whatever situation you decided that you don't like me from, let me be very clear, because I know you over there typing with your full chest about how I can sit up here and tell this woman that she's misrepresented herself as a doctor when I'm a whole trans, okay? So here's the thing about that. A misrepresentation of myself as transgender is up to that person's understanding of gender as a whole, right? So there are going to be a bunch of people that are going to say, no, Hope is a woman. She's a trans woman. She's a woman. That's just who she is. That's what it is. That's how it goes down, right? And then there are going to be some of y'all that are going to say, yeah, but trans women are men. And so that's a gross misrepresentation of who she is at her core, because at the end of the day, she was born male. And let me explain to you why those two things are not the same, and why you'd be grasping at straws to make that point. First and foremost, number one, numero uno, grossly misrepresenting yourself as a doctor, and especially as a doctor who specifies in mental health, is something that could grossly change, or really, I want to say, fuck up Somebody's life, right? Somebody's life can be messed up because of advice that you gave them as a professional. Meanwhile, you have no degrees, you have nobody that's going to be holding you accountable for these diagnoses that you're giving to people or any of these tactics that you're asking them to use on their daily life. And mind you, a lot of these people that are coming to folks like Cheyenne, or a lot of these people that are seeking therapy, like the ones that Cheyenne is claiming that she offers and all of this other stuff, even though she's saying that she don't see clients, there are people who are coming out and saying that, like, basically they had sessions with her and those things are different. That is different because you might give somebody advice that might make them snap and jump off the deep end and unalive their entire family because you don't know what you're doing, and you open up Pandora's box and now you got to close it, but you don't have the tools to actually close it. Me being trans and simply saying, hey, I was born male but I live my life as a woman, does not hurt or harm or make anybody feel uncomfortable outside of bigots and folks who don't want me to exist and have the freedom to be able to do so in the way that makes me feel most comfortable. That is not the same thing, right? And then I also want to see, I see somebody in the comments who are saying, I'm a licensed therapist and we're really prideful about obtaining licensure. Licensure is about protecting our clients and it's not about self-serving needs. Now, to be very clear, for anybody who knows or understands or has been watching my journey for a minute, you know that I am also on my way and I'm in school. You know, I am doing my due diligence to also get my licensure. I'm doing my due diligence to become an MSW so that I can be out here and serving my community. And so I agree with that, even as somebody who has not gotten their licensure. I recently finished my first semester of classes. And what I can tell you is that not only am I invigorated by the ability to learn how the human mind works and to understand how I can better help serve people who don't know how to serve themselves, but also it means a lot to me that I'm spending all of these hours getting to know my community, getting to know myself through my work, getting to know the people who I'm going to be doing my practicums with and all of these different things. And so to have a bitch get up here on these platforms talking about she done did this work and she's done nothing while people are busting their asses and going into debt to make sure that we can get these things done the right way, it's crazy. And then to be out here making money and stacking bank doing it is also wild, and it's highly unethical. I think that one of the things, I think one of the things that people have to be mindful of is when these scams and these things come out, we're not just looking at the way that this person affected the social sphere or the social construct of what's happening in the conversation. We're looking at the amount of people who we've allowed this person to preach to be a guide to. We're looking at the amount of people that this person has on their bumper as fans, as supporters, as pushers of this content. Right. And I just think that it's absolutely ridiculous how so many people are not paying attention to this. Somebody says, Hope, I rattled the table a little bit. Girl, this would have been a dark-skinned Black trans woman, but she's light-skinned and desirable and she has pretty privilege. So of course they're going to defend her. Colorism is a byproduct of white supremacy. I definitely understand or know about all of this because I think that even when we had conversations around, there was a young man last year who actually defended himself in court. And I mean, essentially he won. This young man read all of the books. This young man did all of the things and the X, Y's, and the Z's, and he won his case. And you can't take that away from him because that was just through his own volition. And you have every right to do that as a person who, is on trial. You have every right to deny yourself an actual lawyer and go ahead and defend yourself. And so this young man who was a visually Black young man did that. And essentially he won. A lot of people were upset about this because they said, well, this young man is not a lawyer. He shouldn't be able to defend himself. And the fact of the matter is, this whole winning of the case should not qualify because he did not win it with actual legal representation. The thing about this that was interesting in this particular case is that so many other people before this young man had tried to represent themselves and they just lost because they had not done enough work or research on their case, on the types of cases that would be brought up to defend their case, and they lost. And nobody cared about the fact that this poor guy really thought that he was going to be able to defend himself. And so maybe we should roll this back. Nobody made a big stink about, the fact that these people had low key, sometimes even fake lawyered their way into more years onto their sentence. Nobody batted an eyelash. But the one guy who happens to be Black that does it and gets himself off is now all of a sudden a pariah. But I couldn't help but believe that maybe if this man were not a black man, or if he were a lighter skinned black man, or somebody that the societal norms did not say was a violent, person to society, if they would have cared, or if they would have simply gone out of their way to defend why this was something that more people should do more often. And so it goes without saying that colorism always happens its way into these types of situations, because we always find ourselves at a crossroads of asking, especially as Black people, would this have been allowed if this person looked like this, or sounded like this, or came from this background and people knew about it? And oftentimes the answer to that question is absolutely not. There are so many instances where we've seen people go in and have very similar situations happen to them, and there is no excuses to be made. There are no people that are coming out of the woodwork in defense of this behavior. People are actually going out of the woodwork to make sure that everybody knows about this behavior so that it doesn't happen again, quote unquote, when really all folks are actually trying to do is to disenfranchise this person. And usually it's a person who is of darker descent, somebody who is obviously Black, somebody who is obviously unable to deny the Black allegations and can't really claim themselves to be exotic. But the second that this happens to somebody who has adjacency to whiteness based off of the color of their skin, all of a sudden everybody has all of this empathy, grace, time, and they want people to take a moment to really balance out their emotions around this particular situation, which I think is a load of crap. And then we have to, make sure that we talk about the way that Cheyenne was trying to weaponize and use homophobia and homomisia as a dog whistle. Now, if you don't know what homomisia is, I'm not going to sit up here and be your encyclopedia. It is a word like every other word. If you wanted to know what it meant, you would look it up like you look up every other word that you want to know what it means. If you don't want to know what homomisia means, then just stay mad in the comments, and you can, say that I made up another word if you would like. But it's definitely a word. It has a meaning. Look it up. Now, she threw in those jabs of homomisia because what she wanted to do was, even though she had lost the battle, she wanted to win the social war. Well, what do you mean, Hope? Well, there's a social war that happens in these particular conversations, and I think that we all know how they typically work. A video like this goes viral, and then what ends up happening is that this man owns her. This man asks the right questions. He says the right things. People in the comments start saying, well, you know what? I may not like this person, or actually I do love this person, and he's making a really great point around this woman. It's giving fraudulent X, Y, and Z. And I think that Cheyenne, because like I said, she's not a dumb girl. She's just dumb about the way that she handled this particular situation. Cheyenne saw that about to happen a mile away. And so what she did was, instead of her allowing the clip to be about how she was inadequate and unprepared, she wanted to turn the clip into something that she knew would be low-hanging fruit for people who don't desire to actually do research. And what that low-hanging fruit was to call this man soft, to insinuate that he was not a man, to insinuate that he was not worthy of the attention that people were about to pay to him, because she wanted to invoke the spirit of homophobia, and she wanted to invoke the spirit of homonegativity on him, so that people then were more focused about whether or not they were supporting a sissy than they were about trying to figure out whether or not what that sissy was saying is actually true. And this is not me calling Torre a sissy or insinuating anything myself, but this is me simply saying that that bitch knew exactly what the fuck she was doing, and she did not care how it was going to affect him. But what she did know was that it would deflect from all of the questions that he was asking, that many people were likely going to continue to figure out how to continue to dig deep and deep dive on, and she didn't want that. And so she did what most of them do, which is reach for the peanut gallery's attention, and she got it. Because as you can see in the comments, a lot of people are asking for more, clarification around her stuff. But there are also still a lot of people who are saying things like, well, I mean, he is soft. And I mean, I thought that nigga was gay. This shifts the narrative on the conversation so that the original point of the discussion is no longer important, because people are more focused on the social aspect that they can actually tune in on. The reason why this is important to note is because a lot of people cannot engage in discourse that is beyond their scope of understanding. A lot of people do not understand the nature of degrees because a lot of people are not actually going to school. They're not going to university, and they believe that the school of hard knocks should be enough of a universal degree to be able to enable you to come to these people's lives and tell these people how to fix things and do things in X, Y, and Z. And I hate to break it to you, but when we're talking about people's mental health, the school of hard knocks is not enough of a degree for anybody. I don't think that there's any professional in the world that will tell you that this is one of those careers where experience is going to cut it. This is one of the careers where I can tell you, as a person who loves coming in and bringing my experience to a job, I've never been able to apply for a job where mental health was going to be on the line and not have a degree behind it and not have a license behind it. That's literally the reason why I'm going to school, because most of the jobs that I know that I would qualify for off of the GP require me to have to go to school, because they want to make sure that my work is not just based on my experience, but it's based on peer-reviewed study, and it's also based on my ability to have enough care for the craft that I sought to not only claim the craft, but I sought to get out there and actually like make the craft a part of my life. It's not enough for you to say, I love mental health. It's not enough for you to say that I appreciate the way that Black clinicians are able to talk to our community. It's not enough for you to go and say that, oh, I'm giving back to these kids by giving them free therapy sessions. It is not enough to sit on these podcasts with these problematic ass Black men that you are pick-meing over and likely having sex with. And I'm not saying that just because she's a woman, but I'm saying that because of the type of woman that I think that she is, based off of what she's shown us that she is. Like, you've shown us that you might be a hoe, and so I'm going to believe that I think that you just are. It's giving one of those women that has managed to sleep her way to the top by way of pretending to be intellectual, all the while being a sideline freak off. And now that people are catching up to the fact that you're a sideline freak off, you're trying to get bucked and ducked with some, essentially with somebody, you know, to be able to cover up all of this stuff. You want to be able to constantly deflect, to constantly move the goalpost, which is the reason why all of this stuff broke. And she's out there talking about y'all still talking and posting thirst traps. Again, that is not behavior that would be conclusive of anybody who has a doctorate or whatever the case may be as a response to this sort of backlash. Now, to be very clear, because I see a lot of people sitting out there saying like, oh, you know, the fact that she's cursing as a doctor and the fact that she was saying all of these things as a doctor is also off-putting. Well, let me tell y'all something. I don't know about y'all's doctors, but my doctors are also indeed Homo sapiens, right? Our doctors are people. Our doctors are human beings. They curse, they fuck, they have lives outside of our lives. We've all seen all these different types of doctor shows. We know that it'd be all type of shit going on in them hospitals that we know nothing about. And so the idea that some of you all are trying to pretend or placate as if we don't understand that doctors be out here cursing is kind of wild and crazy. The idea that a lot of you all don't understand that doctors be out here doing what they got to do the same way that we be out here doing what we got to do is also a little asinine to me. I don't think that there's anything wrong with the fact that doctors curse or that any adult, you know, any adults curse. What I think we are really saying is that there's a way that people who are typically within a certain understanding of their career respond to certain critiques, and the way that Cheyenne was responding was not conducive or indicative of a person who has that sort of degree. As a person who understands and navigates mental health on a regular basis, this lady is not a person who seems to be able to regulate her own experience. She doesn't seem to be able to regulate her own emotions, let alone be able to have someone sit in front of her and regulate theirs. And so it makes me wonder why a lot of you all are trying to advocate around the idea of her not being an adult, instead of just saying this lady is wildly unprofessional. And for those people who do not know, a lot of folks are trying to remind people that this interview was from 2 years ago, and the only reason that it's resurfacing was because Torrey did a story time and mentioned it, and somebody went to go find it, and of course the internet gonna do what it do. They found it, and now it's going viral again. That does not dismiss a lot of the critique that's happening around Cheyenne Bryant right now, because also I think that Torrey would not have been as moved or provoked to even talk about the story time if she had not been out here acting up the way that she's been acting up. I think that people are inclined to remember experiences when they know that it's going to be relevant to what's happening in the real world right now. And unfortunately for Cheyenne, in the real world right now, she's getting her ass handed to her 90 going north like she is an old sports car on a road that was not built to actually handle that sports car. And so every other new sports car is riding past some motherfucking ass while she is out here putt-putting for life. And quite frankly, I believe that she deserves it. It's one thing for the scandal to come out for you to apologize, for you to, name that there are different things and different ways that you've been able to navigate this work without having that degree, but standing 10 toes down and continuing to lie to the people as if we're all stuck on stupid, when the whole reason that we're even in this argument is because somebody who was actually a part of the thing that you're claiming that you're a part of said that you're not a part of it, and she ain't never seen you, she don't know you, she's so sorry to this man, but she ain't never seen this person before in her life, right? And now there are so many other students and people who have gone through this program that are also verifying this information. Nobody can find your thesis. Nobody can find any of your works. Nobody can find your degree. People can't even find your school. And then you turn around and you say that the school got closed and all this and that. And so therefore they couldn't provide you with that. And baby girl, there were even people who went to your school that got closed down that said that they indeed did get their transcripts and all of these different things. So I would love to know how and when and where these things make sense. But I want to really dig into this conversation a little bit more and talk through the thing that really made me the most interested with this topic. And it's the idea that this brought up a huge conversation around the ways in which men are perceived. And let me tell y'all something. I cannot stand, and I feel so bad for men. I feel so bad for men. And I'm talking about straight men. I'm talking about gay men. I just feel bad for men. And the reason that I feel bad for men is because y'all can't do shit. Y'all can't do motherfucking thing. When I say y'all can't do motherfucking thing, I mean y'all can't do nothing. A straight man can't raise his voice past a certain octave. A straight man can't eat a banana. A straight man can't enjoy an ice cream cone. A straight man can't eat a lollipop. A straight man can't dress up for his daughters. A straight man can't want to have sex with a woman in a specific way. A straight man can't talk about certain topics. A straight man can't wear certain colors. A straight man can't take care of his family in a specific way. A straight man can't have a wife who makes more money than him. A straight man can't learn about certain topics in school. A straight man can't want to do certain careers. A straight man can't learn how to cook too well or be too good unless he's a chef, because then being a chef somehow makes it not gay. But if you're just cooking at your crib, just to cook at your crib and it's too good, now all of a sudden you're gay. Like, there are so many things that y'all can't do. And again, like I said, this is not just for the straight men, because gay men can't do certain things. Gay men have to acquiesce to a certain type of gay in order to be seen as valuable to the gay community. Gay men have to also navigate straight men in a very particular way. If you're gay, you can't just be gay and not have the flamboyancy to it, because now niggas are questioning your gayness. There are so many different things that men just can't do for the sake of navigating what it means to be a man. And again, let me precursor this with, I know that there's somebody in the comments right now that's going to sit back and say, I don't know how the hell this training going to tell me about how to be a man when you didn't like it so much and you couldn't take it so much that you decided to not even be one of us anymore. Well, let me tell you something. I am not a man because I could not take it. Let me be very clear. Because if there's nothing else in this world that is tougher than being a man, it's being a woman. And add the idea that I'm a trans woman to that mix, and there's nothing, there is nothing, I tell you, that is deeper out here than being an oppressed Black trans woman in a world that wants to do away with all of the intersections that you sit in. And don't, God forbid, you just so happen to be an immigrant on top of all of that, baby. You have hit the unholy quadruple sum, okay? And so I want to say, for all the people that like to make it seem like, oh, trans women can't have conversations around manhood because we divested from the manhood to do something that they say is going to be easier, you've obviously never met a trans woman, and you obviously never had a conversation with one of us, because if you know one thing for certain and two things for sure, you understand that our life is anything short of easy. And denouncing that manhood does not mean that we step into a world of rainbows and sunshine, because oftentimes the second that we denounce it, y'all motherfuckers go out of y'all way to make our lives a living hell from the day that we affirm it to the day that we die. So let's be very clear about the idea that if you're going to try to say that trans women don't get to talk about this because we were weak and we did not stay in manhood, note that your defense should not be because womanhood is so easy. And especially as it pertains to trans womanhood, and especially as it pertains to being a Black trans woman, yeah, no, if we wanted the easy way out, we would have just stayed up there being a fuck nigga and doing the DL thing like most of y'all do. That's just not how this works. So I want to say first and foremost, before I jump into my defense of my guys, is to say that I understand that I'm a trans woman having this conversation, but as somebody who was socialized to want to be a man and decided that that wasn't for me, and as somebody who also understands the ins and outs of the conversations that are often had when people are not paying attention and not looking, and I'm not just talking about the bad conversations, I'm talking about the conversations that I had with some of my friends when I was growing up about what their dads and their moms wanted them to do versus what they wanted to do, but they couldn't do those things because being a man is so fucking difficult that you can't have dreams outside of these basic affirmations and aspirations that the white people have placed on you as a black man and that your parents have subscribed to as black people who are just trying to survive out here in this world. Some of y'all ain't gonna catch that until next Tuesday, but listen to this video again and I'm sure it'll make sense for you. But I think that a large part of this conversation has opened up a lot of dialogue that we were not really having around the pressures of what it means to have to constantly police yourself as a black man in order to get half as far as the people who are on the other side. And when I say half as far, I mean as anybody who is not a black man. There is so much policing that has to happen, and it's not just intercommunal policing. Because I know some of y'all are gonna say, well, Hope, that's a part of the reason why some of these men only date white girls. Cool. But also understand that just because these men date a white girl, it does not mean that they are not beholden to the expectations of blackness from white people. There's a certain level of expectations that black people have. There's a certain level of expectations that black women have. And I want y'all to believe and I want y'all to understand that just because these women are white don't mean that they don't have expectations of black men. And just because the white community is white doesn't mean that they don't still have expectations of the good black men that they do allow to be a part of their adjacency, right? And a large part of that is that you still have to show up and be the protector, even when they think that the protection that you provide is scary. So let me think about this. One of the things that I heard, and I cannot remember the source that I heard it from, but I'm sure that some of y'all follow the same pages that I do. And so somebody is going to remember, but I was recently watching something, and essentially the guy that was on the podcast was saying, you know, there is a weaponization of black masculinity for fear tactic. And he was like, it's really crazy that they'll be so afraid of us. These people will be so racist and they'll be so hateful and they'll be so all of these things, but they still look at black men as these saviors for community. And he was like, I can go to the most podunk town in the middle of bumfuck nowhere where there are no black people for miles. But then I go to the dive bar that night at 1-2 o'clock in the morning, and the fucking bouncer is always this over muscle bound, big fucking bodied ass black guy. And so he was just like, it's really interesting and it's strange how, you know, these people can't find us to live in their towns, to go to their bank, to be a part of their everyday working life, but they will find us when they need to scare off other people, including themselves, in order to look like they have protection. And so the nature of black men's existence for a lot of people, whether it is other black people or white people, has always been to serve as a protector in a time of turmoil, whether it be from each other or from other people. And so when I think about the ways in which a lot of people want to divest from blackness, or a lot of black men want to divest from blackness by going and finding themselves a home in whiteness, I need you to understand and know that they are simply using you for what they believe is their birthright, which is your protection and your brute strength, or the assumed brute strength that you have as a black man that they don't believe that they have as white people, in order to protect what they have going on, which is essentially themselves and the gatekeeping of you and your people out of their establishments, outside of your use as a protector, which is ridiculous. The amount of hoops that black men have to jump through every single day in order to feel relevant and remain I guess what you want to call, like, I guess a pseudo alpha man is crazy. I think that a lot of this conversation that's happening around black men right now, and a large part of the reason why I'm actually excited about this whole Cheyenne Bryant coming to be, is because it really helps us to have a conversation or navigate conversations about how we better show up for black men, so that they don't always get seen as the brute force in the conversation. And that oftentimes we can see that a black man can be soft and gentle and still be hard and direct with the conversations that he's allowed to have. I think that while Torre is a little bit of a snake, and why I don't really want to defend him fully and completely because he does a lot of sideways sideshow Bob ass bullshit. I do believe that at the end of the day, he did not deserve to be disrespected on that program simply because she wanted to change the narrative about the way that people were having, conversations. Wait, is there a conversation around Black men? My media block is strong. So there's a conversation that I think is being opened up around Black men because of this conversation that is also happening around Cheyenne Bryant. Someone called me an Oreo because I was soft and Black. It's insane. To be very honest, I'm a person who is engaged in those politics. I'm a person who is engaged in Oreo politics, but it's never been because a person was soft. I think that I've only engaged in Oreo politics because of the way that a person presented their conversation. Because to be clear, I do believe that Black people can be learned. I do believe that Black people, can have a particular vernacular, but I also believe, no tea no shade, that there are some Black people that there's a difference in code switching and actually trying to live that life. And I think that some of y'all be trying to live that life and you think that we don't see you trying to live that life. And then when you get caught trying to live that life, you want to act like that wasn't what it was. And then when we ask you to live the life that you claim that you're about, you have no actual connection to it. And so some of y'all get called Oreos, not just because you are a softer man, but because you're a man that's clearly trying to acquiesce to a white covert lifestyle. And I think that, we have to be mindful about the ways that people see us and not just the way that we understand ourselves. So as a person who has definitely done that in the past, I think a large part of my reasoning wasn't just because this person was softer or, didn't engage in certain politics. It was because I saw this person trying to engage with a certain lifestyle that typically usually would revolve around white people's acceptance in order to, be deemed as important. So I asked a serious question. Okay, so ask it again, babe. I'm reading the comments. I want y'all to understand and note that I'm literally doing my makeup. I'm doing my makeup. I'm trying to respond to y'all. And I am looking at comments from both Instagram, Substack, and YouTube. So if I miss your comment, just leave it again. I can't with the Cheyenne Bryant situation. I'm hot for all my besties that work to get those letters and that PhD. I agree. I think that there are so many people that are honestly not even mad for themselves. They're mad because they know people who busted their ass. There are so many people who, and I think honestly, this whole shine, because I don't want to miss my message around the way that I think that Black men are often policed in these situations. And so I want to hold off on going back to Cheyenne right this second. But I also wonder, and I really want to seriously ask this question to Black men, whether you watch this on the replay on YouTube or whether you watch this on the replay on Instagram or wherever you end up seeing this, how do y'all feel? Like Black men, how do you feel when you see all of these things coming out, when you see these stories breaking? How do you feel? Like, do you resonate with it because, regardless of what, Touré is still a Black man and he deserves justice? Because I'm also starting to see a lot of other Black men trying to divest themselves out of the conversation by saying that they don't see themselves in this particular situation because they're not soft like Touré is soft. I saw somebody here on my YouTube says that he feels unheard. And I think that these are the conversations that we're not having with Black men, because a Black man feeling unheard in this particular conversation specifically that revolves around them is kind of asinine to me. I feel like as Black women and Black queer folks and the overall Black population outside of Black men, we are having this conversation with and about Cheyenne as if Black men are not able to hold their own ground, which I think would obviously contribute to the reason why this person left this comment on the YouTube, right? I think that it sucks that that's the truth, but I also understand exactly where it's coming from. I think that a lot of the time, as Black people, and especially as Black women, Black queer folks, and people who often lead the movement, and often lead the movement work, we forget to ask Black men what they need from us. And while I will never be head of the Pick Misha Club, I do think that we often know that it's been our blood, it's been our tears, it's been our sweat that has built this movement. And so sometimes we jump into battle and we forget to ask these kings, like, hey, we on our way to the store, what y'all need, and that's unfortunate. So I definitely hear that. I'm asking because I don't support certain groups. I'm not trying to be funny or disrespectful. But were you born a woman or are you a transgender person? Well, if you don't support certain groups, then you don't need to be here no way. Because regardless of what I am, baby, I support all people. So if you don't support all people, especially if you don't support all Black people, and the fact of the matter is, if you are still here, that means that you agree with my messaging. So the fact that you would leave just because you don't like the way that I might have been born is kind of crazy. And so, you know, if not knowing is gonna be the end all be all, then I don't think that this was the space for you to begin with, babe. This is not a space for, first of all, we're talking about Blackness and we're talking about the betterment of Black people, and we're talking about giving Black men a space to discuss their mental health. And the idea that you would be like, well, you know what? You know what? You're talking some good shit, but you're a trans, or you're like that to me, and that's the reason why Black people are gonna always and forever be where we at. Because in the midst of this, I'm so happy that this happened in real time and that y'all on Instagram can see it in real time. We are on here talking about the ways in which Black men are not being heard. And I'm going to assume that the person that's behind this profile is a Black man, maybe. And the fact of the matter is, instead of taking the opportunity to post comments about the things that you think people should know about what Black men are dealing with, you're like, but wait, are you a trans? Because if you were a trans, I don't want your support. And it's just, it's ridiculous. Like, that to me is ridiculous. And in real time, people got an opportunity to see that. So, you know, regardless of what I am, my love, I hope that you find a tribe that is exclusionary like you. That is, but you know what? And that's the thing. I'm on here defending these niggas. That's the craziest part. That is the craziest part of it, is that I'm literally actively on here defending space for Black men to be able to, like, and here it is. Here it can't see past your nose to get to your face. Like, that to me is crazy. That to me is crazy. But then we wonder why these bigoted, you know, people on the right continue to get what they got to get. Because y'all let them white boys and them white supremacist people make y'all believe that they hate these people so bad. There's a reason why Grindr, you know, goes into overdrive every single time they get together. They don't hate their trans and their gay people the way that they convince y'all to hate us. They don't hate their trans and their gay people and their lesbians, and they don't hate their people the way that they convince y'all to hate y'all. Trust and believe that. The way that they try to convince y'all to hate y'all's people, I'm just saying. Ma'am, I'm not trying to make a joke or an issue. I just asked a simple question and you're going off topic. This is my page. So again, love, if you don't like it, I didn't like your question. And so I'm able to respond to that question however I want to respond to the question. If you don't like it, if you feel like I'm going off topic now, my love, then you could leave. Because the simple fact of the matter is, what do you want to fuck me? Because if you want to fuck me, then I can see why that would matter. I'm going off topic because you brought a topic that has no concern or no merit to this conversation, to the conversation. If you don't want to fuck me, then why does it matter? We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about these issues. We're here to talk about Black men not having a voice. Why does it matter? And you've already said why it matters. And that's the thing. That's the thing that I hate when people gaslight you, because in your first comment, you said, I don't support certain groups. So the reason why it matters is because you want to decide whether or not you're going to continue to listen to something that you clearly agree with because you're still here, right? You agree with the message, but you want to decide whether or not you respect the messenger, which means that this is not a space for you. That's it. And if you don't like the way that I responded to it, you can kick rocks. But anyway, I think that somebody else asked me about the whole Amanda Seales thing. So here's my thing with Amanda Seales. If y'all have been around and if y'all have been following me for a while, y'all know that I have a very interesting relationship surrounding my thoughts on Amanda Seales, right? And I think that while the lady is brilliant to some degree, she also so smart till she's stupid. Y'all ever heard the old people say that? It's like you so smart till you dumb. And I really feel like Amanda is one of those you so smart till you dumb ass people. I just don't understand how this woman continuously, right, makes her way into these dramas that she has nothing to do with for the sake of trying to prove a point that always gets her ass handed to her. Like, for you to be so smart, you always manage to see walk your way into something that you ain't got nothing to do with, that pushes you further and further into Black people's annoyance. And it's crazy because it's just like, I know that throughout the course of her life, with all of the success that she's had, this lady never thought that she would go down in Black history as one of the most annoying savants that we've ever had. And I say that because one of the things that I'm never going to do is take away from the fact that Amanda Seales is wildly intelligent. I'm not going to take away from the fact that I do truly believe that Amanda Seales is indeed a savant. But I also think that her desire, right, to be recognized by Black culture as one of the greats and to go down in Black history as one of the greats is her own downfall, because she is so hell bent on dying as the what do you call her, Lord Jesus. She has been so hell bent on dying as this Martha and Maya Angelou, sorry, this Maya Angelou, you know, uh the names are escaping me, but y'all, she's trying to die as one of those people, right? And it's very interesting how in her pursuit to die as like one of the greats in Black history, she constantly pops out just to piss us off and remind us why we don't fuck with her. And I hate it because it's just like, you don't want to not fuck with this girl. Like, I think that Amanda deserves all of her just dues. I think that she really does deserve to be, touted as an authority figure as far as it pertains to Black history and the Black movement. Angela Davis, thank you so much. Discount Claire, yes. Angela Davis, Clarice, like, yes, thank you so much, because those were the names that was like they were. I could not, because I kept wanting to say Angela Rye, and I don't know why, but like I kept wanting to say Angela Rye. It was fucking with my soul because I knew that was not what I wanted to say. But yes. And so I think that when we talk about, or when we have these discussions around Amanda Seales, like, it's sad because that baby wants to die as one of the greats. And unfortunately, it's just like, I don't know if I see that for you, babes. I don't know if I see that for you. And I think that I agree with everybody when we say that we have a love-hate relationship with Amanda, and it's because she is so smart. She is, all of the things. Camp so many, like, if you still here, why you don't have to defend yourself, babe? I asked because I was literally listening, but a person who doesn't identify as the person they were born as could not speak for all of us melanated kings, like a white woman trying to tell a Black woman. So my thing is, campus, if you like, how the boys be saying it, the boys be saying, if you got to guess, then the answer is whatever, and you shouldn't have to. So if you have to guess whether or not I'm a biological woman, my love, then maybe you shouldn't be here. Because as a melanated king, you should be able to tell a queen, shouldn't you? Shouldn't you? Ain't that's what y'all say? From 50 football fields away, I could tell a nigga. So if I am a nigga, okay, then let your melanated king's spidey senses and all of the tingles and bristles of your dick hairs tell you exactly that, my love. Why do you have to ask me? If y'all can spot trans people from 6 football fields away, and if we are just such big men in the world, and like, then then you should be able to spot it. I shouldn't have to tell you what a real woman looks like, right? I shouldn't have to tell you what a real woman looks like. Now, by all means, I am, bitch. I am that I am. But it's just like, I need y'all, like, y'all, it's crazy how y'all will spend hours on the internet, melanated kings, talking about how none of these transformers can ever trick y'all into believing stuff, but then y'all still be out here asking questions. Why you gotta ask a question? Because if you a true melanated king, then you know, right? Um, but also, again, I don't understand how that applies to this particular conversation, because I'm not trying to speak up for you, my love. I am simply saying that these are my opinions about what I think is happening, and I don't think that it's fair that a lot of these melanated kings are not being given the space to have conversation. I'm actually asking, and I actually asked the question about what it was that y'all felt like y'all were missing. Only one of the men that have been watching this on either of my platforms that are streaming right now have responded. One man said, and I quote, "I feel unheard." I responded to that by saying I do think that it's bullshit. So that person also just responded back to you from YouTube and says, "I totally disagree with that guy. I subscribed to the channel after I saw your recent video, and you articulated perfectly the struggle that we as Black men go through when it comes to the expectations of our masculinity." And so here's that. So as one Black man is saying that, I can't speak, because my thing is also, Campus, if I can't speak to your experience as a Black man, as a trans person, then I can't speak to your experience as a woman either, because a Black woman is still not a Black man. Right. And so I feel like a large part of what's happening here is that you just want to know if I'm trans because you want to know about how to treat me, and or you're probably trying to figure out if I'm trans because you think that I might be easy and you want to slide into my inbox later. But to be clear, I'm married and I'm not easy. So even if that was the plan, no. And then second of all, again, this conversation has nothing to do with any of those things, because it's really about you being able to express your opinion as a Black man. Also, Campus, would you like to come up and go on live with me so that you can express your opinion through words? Because I know sometimes it can be difficult. You don't have to actually like show your face, but if you think that it would be easier for you to convey your thoughts and your processes, you could always feel free to send a request up. And yeah, we can go from there. I will say I only got 15 minutes because I have a meeting at 12:15, and this is the get ready with me. And it seems like you're new here, so you don't know how these work. But I get ready, you watch me get ready until it's time for me to go and do the thing that I'm getting ready for. So if you would like to have that conversation, you have about 15 minutes to decide that you would like to have that conversation, so that way we can hear everything that you have to say as the melanated king that you are, because you are the melanated king. Now, to be very mindful, when I let you up here, should you decide that that's what you want to do, Mr. Campus, I need you to come on here and express and address the concerns of melanated kings as it pertains to the way that your mental health is not being considered. I do not need you to come up here and still be asking questions about whether or not I am trans, because unless you want to fuck, there's no need for us to have that conversation. And that's just my 2 cents. Now let me see, because I am on my computer. So let me see. Oh, damn it. Fuck. I hate it. Because y'all know usually I'll be down for the get down. And I'm actually happy that Campus is actually down for the get down. But I'm on my computer, Campus. So I'm not running from the conversation, because any of my OGs know, but I'm on my computer, so I actually can't add you unless hold on, Campus. Hold on, Campus. Actually, Mr. Campus, I can add you. I just have to finagle a thing or two, but 1 second. You just give me 1 little second there. But anyway, I do think that it's important that we have conversations like this with people, especially if they feel like they're not being taken seriously. And so for me, it's important that I'm taking it seriously when Black men say that they need space to be able to, do their things. So Campus, I actually just sent you the link to be able to join. Like I said, I only have about 10 minutes at this point for us to have just a little bit of a conversation, and then we'll see. So yeah. But essentially, what I wanted to say, whether or not campus joins us or not, uh, Orlando is hilarious. I just saw you read Cheyenne Bryant. I immediately subscribed. I don't know how I have not heard of you before. Because I think that a large part of the reason why people don't hear of darker skinned Black women that are doing the work is because most people don't find us to be folks that they strive to be or people that they want to have sex with. And I'm just like, I'm convinced, and I tell people that all the time. Like when folks want to have sex with you or when people want to be you, they push your content. But when people don't believe that they can have that type of access to you, then they obviously don't do those things, which is a large part of the reason why we don't find out about like some of the most bomb creators and things like that until after, all the things go. Men are allowed to express themselves or be themselves, whether that means us being weird or soft or anything that isn't considered thuggish or hard. I completely agree. I pray that he doesn't come in here disrespectful. It will piss me off. I literally asked for a reason. I'm looking for the link. It's in your inbox, love. I sent you a message on Instagram because I realized that I was able to at least send you the link to the StreamYard that I'm using. And so if you click that link, you'll be able to pop in. But remember, we're on a time crunch because I have to be on a meeting at 12:30 my time. So I can definitely come back and do this afterwards because I would still love to hear what you have to say. In the event that this was one of those things that's like too quick of a turnaround. But the link is definitely in your inbox, love. So check and see if it went to the. Okay, he saw it. Yeah, because my inbox says that it was seen. So I'm gonna wait for him to pop on in here. Um, I'm gonna wait for him to pop on in here, but again, I'm not gonna stay around, because I got a meeting. I have money to be made. Okay. Um. All right. And I'm gonna add you to the stage. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good. How are you? First of all, how are you?
How you doing, Mr. Joe?
I'm doing good. No, I don't want to fuck you. That wasn't my question. I didn't
Okay.
come on here to be ignorant. I don't know, talking about somebody gonna piss them off. That's okay. I didn't come on here for a confrontation. The reason that I asked because I was listening to you. I was listening to your platform. I added you. So it would be kind of silly of me to you know what I'm saying. The reason I asked is because it is a lot of people out here that can trick people. I wasn't interested in that fact about anything sexual. The only reason I asked you is because I was listening to your points. But it was crazy that we got into this conversation because we was with somebody the other day. And no, because I wasn't looking to try to fuck a person. I wasn't trying to like look and see. Oh, I didn't go through your pages like, oh, is her titties real? This that. People can be somebody else, but because you have an opinion, don't make that you being somebody else doesn't make your opinion not valid. I was asking because what point that I made the other day, somebody was making a comment about something, and I said, man, I said I'm not trying to be funny, but you didn't want to be who you was, let alone try to stand up for somebody else to tell somebody else how to be the person they are, and tell them about their life. That's the only reason I was asking. They didn't know who they were, and they was a young person trying to tell another young person something, and I'm like, brother, you don't know who you are in life while you was giving your opinion. So that was the only reason that I asked, because I was chiming in and listening to you. I kept saying I'm not here for a confrontation. I'm not trying to be funny or disrespectful. So when I stated that from the big word go, that should have I wasn't trying to be funny. As you see, I'm a grown man. I'm a serious grown man. I'm married. I was here with my wife. I asked my wife before I got on here. I was just like, babe, was this a valid question? She was just like, I can see where you was coming from. I don't think I would have got it. She's a corporate executive as well as I am.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the intention. And anybody, I don't care what your sexual preferences, that's on you, bro. I ain't got nothing to do with who or her or they or them and who get pissed off. I was trying to be respectful towards you, ma'am, and just ask a simple question because I was agreeing with you. I just wanted to clear that up. I don't
I
even get on social media. I just wanted to get on. That's why I asked. Please add me so I can make it clear. I wasn't here to offend you or to cause any ruckus or anything like that on your platform. That's not adult. That's not kids. I was listening for understanding. I wasn't listening just to hear and to go by. I just had a question for you. That's all. So you are beautiful. So if you was, it's some trans women or men or whoever, whatever it is out here that trick people, and they are beautiful. And a lot of men, we get caught up because we be too late talking about, she bad neck. Oh, that's a dude. You but oh no, I didn't mean that at all. So please don't be offended by my question to you. And I
No,
do appreciate that you give me the opportunity to come on here and explain what exactly I meant. I do appreciate that.
no, absolutely. First of all, I appreciate you coming on here and having the willingness to come and explain, because I feel like most people who will
Bro,
say like that, they don't.
that's fine. Yes.
But also I think that here's the thing that I also think is important is that knowing the space that a person was trying to cultivate is really important. The whole purpose of the conversation, and I understand what you're saying based off of like why you still brought it up, but I think that in a world where we understand that these types of things can derail the conversation so much that we lose the plot, which was to make sure that Black men feel supported, it puts us in a space where it's like now we're talking about something that really don't have nothing to do with nothing. It's not going to make the conversation better. It's
And
not.
that's why I just asked that question. I didn't want to get, and like you said, and one thing you said, and I do agree, and I appreciate you saying it. Like it's kind of unfair. Like if a person is texting something, you can't understand how a person is saying in a text. You know what I'm saying? You can read and like people. Oh, I hope I don't get pissed off, bro. Give it a chance. I totally get where you come from. I'm college educated and all that. So I don't care nothing about all that. I'm a man before I'm anything. I speak with Ebonics, so I can speak with a big vernacular. I don't care nothing about that. I like a platform where you can come and keep it real. And this actually, if you think about it, this is exactly what you was talking about, because not enough Black men are being able to be heard in the platform and in the space on how they feel. I ain't got nothing to do with whatever person. Like, I don't have a heaven or hell to put nobody in. I ain't living perfect. So I couldn't care less what a person do with their lifestyle. I was only asking, like I said, I want to stay on topic because it is basically still on topic. I was just simply asking for my specific reason that I didn't make a comment and say something bad, but it was just an example in real life time. Yet, like you were saying, so I was sitting here laughing. I'm like, dang, she's saying the same damn thing I was saying yesterday to this person. I was just like, no, it's not about that. But you trying to give somebody advice and you don't know who you are yet or know who you want to be. Yeah, you can't do it. So I was just simply saying, listening to you, like when we're in life as a Black man or a melanated man, I don't like to say Black and that's constructs. I don't use all those social constructs, colors and stuff. No, as a man, like you just gave me the opportunity to come and explain, we're not heard. The first thing though, it just to keep it on topic, the first thing that people start saying, everybody, hey, look, go back and look at the cock. And they had the pistols cocked. I hope this and that. No, I'm not here to be confrontational. Every Black man or melanated man or man, period, is not about confrontation. I think you're beautiful. I think the topic that you had was wonderful. Let's keep going. Fuck what I was talking about. I just asked for a specific reason. Delete that shit. You answer my question. That's what I said. No, I just asked a simple question. I just was trying to get that part so I can go on in and start commenting. That's all. That's it.
It
That's
sounds
it. And I do apologize if I offended you or anybody on your platform. That wasn't my intention.
not at all.
That's just being 100.
Thank you, and I appreciate you for popping up here.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. Now, can we get back on the topic because you was rolling?
We can, but I got 4 minutes to finish this up and then get
Yeah,
on.
yeah, y'all. Fuck what I'm talking about. Let's get back on her side. I'm on her side. Fuck what I'm talking about. Can you
All
can
right,
block me?
let's do
Not block me. You can turn the screen off now. Let's get back to it. See, for
it.
real.
So what we have here and what I really enjoy about this is that we saw Mr. Joe we saw Mr. Joe really come on here and I think one, take accountability for his words, and two, add clarification without disrespect. And I think that I can appreciate anybody who can come and do that. There are so many people who will go out of their way and above and beyond to avoid accountability for some shit that they said in the comments because they don't believe that people will pull their cord or pull their card and say, well, okay, well, come up here and have this conversation in real time. And what I love about the fact of what just happened here was that we are two adults who had a conversation that I think could have ended and usually ends in ways where we are yelling at each other, cursing each other out. And we were able to sit here and just have a discussion about how, you can't feel people's tone through texts, and you can't really feel the way that a person means a thing when they have to type 40 miles a minute in the comments just to have their comments seen in between 50,000 other people. And so a large part of the time when I invite people up, yes, it's because I know I'm going to read them for filth if they start some bullshit. But it's also one of those things that I do because sometimes we both wrong. Sometimes we're both on edge. Sometimes we're both in positions where we don't understand how to listen to one another because we're not able to listen. We have to read these text messages and assume things about people that we've never met or don't know in real life. And beyond any and everything, what I want y'all to understand is that if we want to continue to have conversations like this and we want to move the needle with these conversations, that we have to do so with love, understanding, and the principle that if we're rooting for everybody Black, we have to give everybody Black the opportunity to be able to see where they might have misstepped and hurt other people on the way, and also be able to take into account that we might be being a little bit sensitive about a thing because we've had other experiences that don't include this particular person. And so while we can protect ourselves on the basis of experiences that we might have had with other folks, we can't put those experiences on these new people for the sake of trying to say that, you know, this thing might happen and so therefore I'm going to get in front of it. We have to let the thing happen sometimes and then learn from that experience. And I'm always about that. And I know that that's not everybody's ministry, but it's definitely mine. So I'm appreciative of the fact that we were able to end this conversation with that in real time and having real practice of that. And I think that we're going to have a part 2 and invite Mr. Joe back. I don't know what y'all thinking. Y'all let me know in the comments down below. But I am officially ready, and I actually was able to do a whole get ready with me and have a conversation with y'all and finish my makeup before it was time for me to go. And I'm actually on time. So thank y'all for chilling with me on this get ready with me, and I will see y'all next time. Bye, everybody.